Hello, friends. Just getting started here in Danville, Virginia. Lovely little town. Doing a wedding. Just a moment, and I'll show you the scene that I'm working from. Hang on, I'm going to give you a wild ride. There you go. So, very nice environment, very nice. Whoops, you can't hear me, can you? Oh, yeah, you can. Okay, I got a mic on. We're good. Sometimes my distractions get distracted. Even my distracted mind is distracted. Anyway, hello. Good to have you on board. This is Daily Art Adventure number 613.
Check 1, 2.
The band is loud. Ought to be good. Band is good, I should say. That's what I really meant to say. They are good. Good and loud. All right. I think that's enough for the abstract. Just a little bit of logistics here. The canvas is 10 inches away from a white door that's not going to be used, but man, is that close. The biggest danger of me creating a mark on a building is actually not on the floor. I've got rugs down there protecting the floor, but just a tiny little speck. So here's what I did. I'll let you in on a little secret. I actually sprayed the door with water before I got started. For two reasons. One, then if paint hits it, it'll be wet and it'll run and won't dry as quickly. Give me time to wipe it off. And secondly, if a speck does go there, hopefully it'll bleed. It'll spread so that I can see it. So I made the door wet. That's the first time I've ever done that. The old wet door trick, eh? Yep. And I'm going to do something else, slightly new. I've started doing this. I started this abstract, crazy abstract thing. It's been growing on me for years, but I've been like keenly conscious of it, maybe for the last 6 or 8 months, maybe a year, I don't know. But anyway, I've only started this right here, doing white on top of the colored. I only started that in the last couple of months, so this is actually the first time I've ever done this on a wedding painting. Okay, I think that's good enough. I have a photograph right here. Can you see it? Right there on my my old phone, which is a camera for me. And it's not a phone anymore, it's a camera. So that's what I'm going by. I can turn around and look. I am doing a painting of the first dance, but right now I'm going to capture the background. Isn't that lovely?
Well, I would love to sit here and watch.
Well,
You come back and get me a
yeah, that's right. That's right. Come back. So I'm using, whoops, we seem to have a connection problem here. Hope that remedies itself soon. adventures with linear perspective here again tonight. I am following my normal practice, following my own advice here whenever I'm doing the painting. Let me show you again where I'm painting. When I'm doing the inside of a room, which is basically the inside of a rectangle, of course a box, I typically put the far corner, which in this case is that one, at either 1/3 from the left or 1/3 from the right. So that gives me an anchor point. So right now, that line right there is that part of the architecture. Just helps, creates generally an appealing composition. And as is always the case with a wedding, I will keep broadcasting as long as I feel like it's not interruptive to the celebration here. I can't have the camera, where it's extremely obvious and stuff like that. So like where you guys are right now, you can't stay there once the guests get here. So I'll broadcast as much as I can, and then end the broadcasting when I need to. So I'll do as much as I can. Beautiful room. I'm tickled. I'm always tickled when I'm doing a wedding reception, and when the reception room, hall, whatever you want to call it, when it turns out to be an attractive space, it's a huge relief to me. Huge relief. They are not all attractive spaces, and I've talked about this before at weddings. The way a person looks at a room, in their normal mind, when they're not an artist, and the way a person looks at a room when you're looking at it as a painting are two very different things. I've never been in a reception that wasn't beautiful, but I've been in many reception spaces where it was not a beautiful painting. Does that make sense to you? They're all beautiful. They're all decorated beautifully, twinkly lights, candles, plants, and so on and so forth. But those don't always make a good painting. What does make a good painting is beautiful bones in the room, beautiful architecture. That's what makes a room attractive. So, as I said, tickled that tonight that the space is attractive. I don't know if YouTube's gonna hit me for copyright infringement. We got Bobby Darin in the background singing "Mac the Knife," which is always so funny. Funny for a wedding. A song about a mass murderer. Oh, Mac the Knife. Not a nice song. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's kind of ironic if you don't think too much about it. It's just funny at a wedding. Life's blood oozing on down. Anyway, I'm sure that's why you tuned in to hear me laugh about the music that's being played. Like everybody else, I like the song "Mac the Knife." I just don't like what it's about. reminds me years ago, years and years ago, when my younger brother, my youngest brother, hello.
Hi, I'm just creeping on
Yeah,
you.
please. My youngest brother was an opera singer, and so he got paid to sing a lot of weddings. And he told about one wedding that one of the songs on the list was "Oh Lord, What a Morning," the old spiritual, because the people thought that it was M-O-R-N-I-N-G, "Oh Lord, What a Morning." But the song is actually "Oh Lord, What a M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G." Oh Lord, what a morning. Not exactly appropriate for a wedding, but the people didn't know that, so my brother sang it for him anyway. Oh, that window stops about there. There we go. Let's stop that window about there. So this is why I get here early, folks, because I've got a lot of architecture to nail down before the bride and groom get here and do their first dance. Hello, Saul Lure. Thanks for saying hi. I'm glad to have you on board. Oh Lord, what a morning. When the stars begin to fall is the next line. Or the last line, whichever. Oh Lord, what a morning. I'm sorry. It's my broadcast, and I'll blab if I want to. You would blab too if it happened to you. We got Louis Armstrong going down in the background, and no doubt. Okay, something's not right here. Three sections. Oh, I see what it is. These lines. Everything that you're seeing me do now is a good lesson that I preach often about. Don't believe the first marks you put down. If you're drawing, as I am here, drawing off the cuff, drawing, if I may call it extemporaneously, just drawing without any, a grid or anything, no cheating, just drawing the hard way. You make your marks. This is the way I do it most of the time. You make your marks. You don't spend great amounts of time trying to make sure that they're perfectly correct, because that's a waste of time. When you're in a hurry, anyway. This is the way you have to do it. Just slap something down, and then the key is don't believe what you slap down. So, and I counted several weeks ago. In a typical painting of mine, I will be rendering or drawing this. I'll be drawing this scene, this subject matter, 8 different times. This is number 1. And ironically, I'm already making several changes. And of course, everything I'm doing now is just background. It takes a way back seat to the bride and groom, which, by the way, in this painting, are, in my opinion, are clearly going to be here. So I'm not going to draw too much right here because it would be a waste of time, and it will be hard to get it perfectly covered up and so forth. So just some of the basic marks here. So we're almost looking at this wall straight on, but not quite. There's vanishing point about 6 feet off that way, and then another vanishing point right about here. But there's very few lines, like this line right here points at that vanishing point. Again, the corner of the room, pretty typical for me. Put it, you know, here or here, right? Then there's a table here, and a table here, and a table way over here with chairs in front of them. But the bride and groom are going to be there, so it won't do much there. Chairs, 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 chairs. I'm going to go ahead and lock in some people before a single one of them arrives. So this is, of course, a painting of the first dance. So typically in America, during the first dance, it's before the guests have been seated. A few guests will go ahead and sit down, perhaps at a table or a chair, but the great majority of them will be standing. And by the way, by painting these figures in and these heads in this one act, so to speak, I am telling you where the horizon is. And once again, why am I telling you where the horizon is? Because, well, another actually more technically correct term is eye level. So if the average of all these, if these people are, none of them are dwarfs and none of them are giants. So they're all 6 feet, give or take a foot, okay? So that tells you that that's the horizon right there. Now, I'm also looking up the view. When I took a picture of this room, I was holding my camera, this camera right here, at about, not quite belly button, I guess sternum, bottom of my chest, about like this. And I'll do the same thing when I take the photos of the bride and groom. And that is very important, because if the angle that I paint the room is not the same angle that I shoot the bride and groom, of course my perspective is going to be disastrous. So it's quite important that those two things match up. The angle of the angle of the room and the angle that I shoot the bride and groom. So in that case, people who are closer to us in this scene, their heads will be higher, and people who are farther away, their heads will be lower. Whew, don't know if you followed all that. That's right. So there we go. I'm thinking that's a bunch of people. Good enough for now. I think I can keep right on going. I said earlier, I don't know if any of you caught it, Not getting any chats, which is making me a little bit nervous, other than Saul Lure that says hi. All right, I'll be back here. I'm not sure I'm broadcasting right at this moment, but I will be in a second if I'm not right now. We had some internet connectivity problems, so hopefully we got that fixed. And if so, I will continue then. So everything, I've got a lot of wet paint, of course, on this canvas. In fact, makes me think this might be a good opportunity to just make some nice energy using that wet paint and speeding up the drying process by smearing it around for a moment. There we go. That'll do. All right, let me know. Somebody send me a message and let me know if I'm broadcasting okay now. Drawing a chandelier up here. Flowers behind it. Beautiful arrangement. Actually, beautiful arrangement right outside the window here that I really want to try to capture, if at all possible. Just the hint of it. Big urn, and then big floral arrangement outside the window. Quite fun, beautiful. Hi Warren, thank you my friend. Yes, no, it was not you, it was my Wi-Fi. Thanks for joining me. It's kind of funny here. I have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or both, and sometimes they get tangled up with each other. Like my camera or my iPad monitor starts trying to pick up my camera hotspot, etc. I won't give you, but anyway, the waves get all tangled. Let's just say that the waves get all tangled up. So I can, of course, I can do these pencils in the wet paint without causing any bad problems. So it gives me something productive to do while I'm waiting for all of that stuff to dry. And I will say, you've heard me say many times that the purpose of the pencil is primarily for the texture, secondarily for the accuracy, for the drawing, for similitude. I'm trying to draw. There's no question about that. I'm trying to get things right. So I'm not drawing with, say, the abandon that I will later in the process when I pick up pencils in the oil stage and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Right now, I'm pretty focused on trying to make my marks correct. There we go. That's pretty close. So my wife and I drove up. It's only 2 hours from my home in Raleigh, North Carolina to to Danville, Virginia. A beautiful part of the country. Those lines, I'm not being so careful about those, am I? Close enough is good enough there. Oh, and the bride and groom, I shouldn't have done so much there. They're gonna go right there. That's right, that'll work. This is the dance floor. And yeah, the dance floor has a grid pattern in it. Actually has the letters of the bride and groom. Let me look at those. L and C. It'd be kind of nice to get that in there. Let's see if I can do L. Oh, I don't know. I can do the top of it. That's about all. I'm afraid if I try to do much more than that, I'll get into trouble. We'll see. I might try to change my mind later. Again, bride and groom roughly here. I have no idea what they look like, so I dare not get too carried away. All right, but now I do need to take a break because this needs to dry before I come back and do next some large glazes, local color mostly, and then, all right, I hope that everything on there, on that canvas is dry. I believe it is. If it's not, I'll just get a little bit of smearing. I could probably survive. So I just dripped some acrylic medium on my brushes. I'll do even more because I want this blue that I'm doing right now, phthalo blue, pure phthalo blue. I want it to be quite pale. And as you know, if you use too much water to get the paleness you're looking for, then it'll look great when you first put it down, but the water in it will cause the paint to just paler than you intend. So instead of using too much water, my brushes are still quite damp, if not wet. But I use the medium. And what medium? This is Liquitex glazing medium, it's called. How appropriate. Sure, why not? I think I'm going to put down that big brush. Now, I can't really go by the color of the room the way it is right now because it's bathed in sunlight coming through several big windows. But later on this evening, of course, this is one of those nights when the sun is going to go down. In the west tonight, they told me. I looked it up. I looked that up on my phone. And tonight, sunset is in the west sometime around 8 o'clock. So I'm quite sure that everybody's primary memories of this reception will be nighttime or at most twilight dusk lighting. So that's what I'm going to aim for. I have learned years ago that when I'm doing a wedding painting, I do not want to do nighttime. In other words, lots of windows, right? I don't want those windows to be black. Works much better artistically if it's twilight. And so the phthalo blue works very well, imitating that twilight. At least for me, even though logically you would think that ultramarine, a cool blue, would be better, but for some reason I usually prefer phthalo blue for twilight sky. Maybe later in the evening it would be twilight. There we go. That makes sense. Now here's a fun part. By the way, I've mentioned several times that you can know that you've stumbled on a painting style or painting technique that is good for you when you actually look forward to every next step. So that's pretty much describes me and my situation. Every time I get ready to do the next step, inside, I'm like a child going, oh boy, next I get to do, in this case, I get to do white. I get to do white acrylic. And years ago, I used to wait until this was dry before I proceeded to before I did the white. Sorry, no, I can't always talk and paint at the same time. Sorry for my halting speech. If you guys ever meet me in person and we talk on the street, and you find that I don't talk with this awkward, halting, long pauses, you say, you mean you don't talk that way all the time? And I say, no, that's just when I'm painting. I have all these awkward pauses because my brain is going blah, 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 back and forth between my painting brain and my talking brain. And we both know which one of those is more important at the moment. It is. Oh, you know what? I wish right now that I had brought my plastic palette knife. I did not do so. And I wish I had. So I'm just going to do some regular palette knife. Oop, that's a little fat. Not worrying about it too much. All of this is underpainting. Whoops. I was told this door was not in function tonight. Okay, flowers. That's right. Flowers up here. Let's do. Ooh, yeah, and they come all the way down here. I know it's been a while since I showed you guys what I'm painting. Hang on just a minute. When I get it, next time I get a chance to take a break, I'll show you. There's a chandelier, a lot of stuff going on here. Chandelier and flowers outside. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a gamble. Should I? Is the bride going to end up on the right or the left? I don't know. I'm not going to take a gamble. Change my mind. In the dance floor, which is white. Good enough for now. Now what I'm doing right now is going ahead actually and pushing back, rather prematurely, pushing back some of this initial abstract painting. I don't know how much I do want it to show through, but I know I don't want it to show that through that much, so I'm going to go ahead and just back it off a little bit. A little tiny bit of the ceiling. Yeah, nothing over this window door but the exit sign. So, should I include the exit sign or not? Don't answer too quickly. It could go either way, folks. It really could. And this back here is actually the bar, the drinks table. All right, because this white stuff really does need to dry before I proceed to next layers. Because if I do wet on top of this white, it'll turn into opaque color. And opaque color, as you know, for me, is the enemy. I don't like, generally speaking, I do it occasionally, but generally opaque color is not what I'm after. I'm after transparent color. The white is opaque or translucent, but I don't want opaque color, usually. All right, any other comments? No chats this morning. I hope everything. Let's zoom zoom in a little bit here. So I had to wait there for a while for all the white stuff to dry. It's dry now, so I can continue. I think we're broadcasting. There we go. Let me point out one of the things that confuses students almost more than anything else is this concept that I'm demonstrating right now. That you put down opaque white and that confuses the student. What they can't quite wrap their mind around until they do it a few times is that we're almost always going to do colored glazes on top of the white that we just put down. So classic case of this right now, classic example, is these windows that I put white on them. No, there was blue, and then white, and then blue again. And again, a novice, a beginner, or a smart aleck, I can hear saying, well, if you're going to paint it blue, why don't you just paint it blue instead of painting it blue and then white and then blue again? And of course, you know the answer. It's because because it's layers of both transparent and translucent. Nothing that I've done up to this point. Now, I call the white opaque white because it is opaque, but it's always painted in such a manner that it is almost entirely translucent. Okay, so that means everything that I painted so far, every layer that I painted so far in this painting is see-through. Either see-through transparent or see-through translucent, right? Those are two different, but you know what those both mean. Unless English is not your original language, then just Google it, translucent and transparent. So why do I do the windows in this case? Why did I do them, for instance, why did I do them blue and then white and then blue? Because every one of those layers is having some impact. So it's not opaque. I think I'm going to do a little bit more orange and red. And I'm trying to, at this point, really trying to guess to a significant degree what this room is going to look like late in the evening. And I'm guessing that it's going to be, they have uplights all the way around. Oh, by the way, this is a good moment, good chance for me right here to pick you up again for you newcomers and show you the room that I'm painting. So hang on just a second. I'll take you for a ride. So there's where the band is going to be playing loudly. I have earphones. So there's the view that I'm painting. Isn't that lovely? I particularly like the big urn outside the window. I want to try to at least get a hint of that. And here I am in the corner. Painting in my little corner. And also, when the wedding starts, or when the reception starts, I mean, I will paint as long as I can or as much as I can, but I have to be sensitive to my clients, the people who are paying me to do this painting. I need to make sure they don't feel like I'm paying more attention to you guys than I am to them. Does that make sense? So probably what will happen is I'll move my camera, but it won't be a very good angle. It'll be a pretty extreme angle of the painting. All right, so what next? I think, and I'm just about to point where I need to stop and wait for some bride and groom to show up. There's a lot of pink, real pale pink, really, in these beautiful floral arrangements over the windows and outside the window. So these touches that I'm doing right now are almost merely reminders, reminding me, oh yeah, don't forget there's flowers there. All right, now I think what I can do next is, oh good, my wife just brought me some lunch.
Yeah, I got cars.
Okay, good. I'll take a break here in just a few minutes. So I can do a little bit of dark detail and then take a break for supper. Ooh, lights just came on. Whoa. Changes my corner quite a bit. I like it. All right, I am going to stop right there and be back as soon as I can after I gobble something to eat so that I have strength to paint for the rest of the night. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Well, funny. I'm reading some of your comments that I missed. She's suggesting that we not put an exit sign in a wedding painting. I'm sorry, Marlene, you're probably not watching anymore. That's good humor there. All right. So it's time to do some dark details. Detail, of course, is a relative term. Not too detail-y details, of course. We have here chandelier I'd sort of like to get in. Oh yeah, don't forget to take pictures of me. We didn't get enough from the last wedding.
They weren't good. I know, I tried, but they weren't.
Talking to my wife Nancy here. It's her job to take, among other things, to feed me, which she just did very well, with a delicious hamburger from this restaurant called McDonald's.
You put my book.
Oh, I put them behind my box.
Okay.
Oh no, look at I've got, oh doggone it. Ladies and gentlemen, I just realized after all my early carefulness where I avoided getting any paint on the door, now I have done it. And I've been carrying denatured alcohol in my kit for months, maybe years. But alas, it dawns on me right now, wait a minute, when I packed up today, there was no denatured alcohol. Darn. Okay. My wife and I might be making a special trip over here tomorrow afternoon to clean paint off the door. Denatured alcohol is the ticket for getting acrylic paint off stuff. But I was being so careful for so long. I'm not sure how that happened. Ooh, I just saw a bride go by outside. I wish I had seen her more quickly. I know it sounds strange, but I have a vested interest in knowing what the bride looks like. Not that it makes any difference. I'm going to paint her whatever she looks like, but I'm always strangely curious before I see. painting things like mullions in windows. That's the name of these the little divider boards that are in windows like this. Gives me a good excuse to talk about the value, the benefit perhaps is a better word, of misplaced early lines. You've perhaps heard me say before that not only is it okay when you're doing these layers and layers and layers of painting and layers of drawing. I said earlier, I typically do 8 layers of drawing, not counting the big glazes, not counting those. I typically will draw the subject 8 times. Okay, so in that world, then, early, I'll call them mistakes, actually work to your advantage. And you can see a little bit of that here. Do you see this red line, that one, and that one there? They're all off. Not only is it not bad for those erroneous marks to be there. Same thing here. See that orange mark? Not only is it not bad for those, it's actually beneficial because it adds a delightful bit of jitter. What are some other words? Chaos? Counterfoil? I don't know, that's not the right word. Counter something. I'm having to walk over here and see what this looks like periodically. Whereas, for instance, in this window right here, all of my lines seem to be more correct. And the point I want to make to you is that that is not necessarily an advantage. This window right now, the misplaced lines, serves me better than this window does, where all the lines, in fact, I'm moving some of these marks on purpose now, even if they're not incorrect. I'm making, because this is my 4th time drawing this subject matter. That means on average I've going to draw it about 4 more times before I'm done. So that should be encouraging to some of you to note. Not only do you not need to get it exactly right the first time, it actually serves you better. And again, I don't know if I've done a good job. Why is this better with those erroneous marks? Again, words like texture, chaos, interest. When the painting is all done, it'll be real obvious which ones are the correct lines. There won't be any question about where the lines go. But you will see little bits and pieces of these wrong marks will show up to great aesthetic delight. It will look cool. I know, strange language, I don't, forgive me. Anyway, and it's true. It's not just true with mullions and windows. It's true with everything. But these mullions were giving me a good opportunity to point that out. And also blue and brown mixed together, but definitely blue. I don't have to retrace over every mark, every line. In some cases, the red underpaintings are adequate. The red underpainted lines are adequate right where they are, so I don't need to echo every single one. But already, just with the 4 layers down and many layers to go, that window in particular is looking quite nice. It's a nice tension between realistic and abstract. Realism is easy. You don't have to think, all you do is copy. Abstract realism is not easy because every dang mark requires thought. You can't turn off your brain for a minute, not for one stroke. Whereas when you're copying, you don't have to really use much of your brain at all because you're just copying. I know some of you that sounds so counterintuitive because you're not good at realism. But all those of you who are good at copying stuff, you know exactly what I mean. It's like, oh, you really don't have to think. You just copy. I know. Anyway, never mind. I beat that horse adequately to death. All the details I'm doing right now, this is about as detailed. Now, I'm going to shift colors and so forth, and get the values right. But I don't really need any more detail in the background of this painting, again, because the bride and groom portraits right here, they will demand most of the attention, and I only want a moderate amount of attention, whatever that means, going back, away from the bride and groom to the room behind them. So I feel like probably most of this detail that I'm doing is, at this point, is adequate. I'll correct values, but and color, but it does not need to be any more detailed than this. Now the people do. They're not done yet. Oh, and that's right. There's a candelabra on the wall, mounted on the wall, right here on each side of this big brass thing. Chandelier. I need to change the angle of this edge of this dance floor. Not happy with that perspective. There we go. I think that's better. The dance floor is monogrammed with the initials of the bride and groom, L and C. So I went outside to the cocktail table and found a cocktail napkin. Did I show you this? Maybe I did. I don't remember. With the initials on it. So I said, "Oh, that's what I need." So I picked up one of those, and that helped me. Of course, I don't need to include the grid in the dance floor. There is a grid. It's put down, you know, that's how the people install it, piece, square by square, piece by piece. I don't need to include that. But a grid on the floor just is a real nice, natural way to convey distance. So it's a nice detail to be able to include. A good element, I think. So I think I'll I'm not sure what I'll do. Yeah, I am. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the people. I don't usually do too much in the acrylic stage, but I feel like I've got time, and it will help me a little bit if I go ahead and do some flesh tones.
Here it is, yeah. It's at the beginning of Danville. This is an Italian restaurant that we pass right inside.
If I just do some daubs of flesh tone, then it will help a lot when I begin trying to, you know, interpret these. Some of those horizontal-ish X's that I just made will turn into arms and so forth. I don't even care who they belong to at this point. That's just an indicator, just a way of starting to abstract in these figures. Put in some dots for heads, and like that, and then some horizontal, and then some women wearing dresses, so a few bare legs as well. When I do crowds of people like this, I'm very much playing the picture in the clouds game. I put down a mess, and then little by little by little try to interpret that mess. I particularly like this large Grecian urn, classic urn that's set up by the flower people right outside this window. Very nice decorator touch by them. I don't know how visible I can make it. Not going to worry about it too much, but it'd be nice to get in there. Whoops, that door is not supposed to be used. So I was told. Let me pause for a minute and think. Next step, either pencils or white. If I do white and then pencils, the pencils will be quite prominent. If I have pencils and then white, the pencils will be much more subtle. I think I'm going to do pencils and then white. So that I hope I'm making the right decision. So once again, so this is my second application of what I call opaque white, even though it's not literally opaque at all. It's quite translucent. Very little bits of opacity. Flowers. And light outside the windows. I want to be careful not to cover up too much, because there's some nice things happening, abstract things happening in there that I don't want to obliterate. Some of those early red marks are very pleasant. They don't reflect realism, but they're very pleasant marks. I don't want to obliterate them too much. Yeah. Is that making sense? Oh, good. I finally see some chats happening down here. Hey, Marlene's still there, laughing at her own joke. That's good. I hope you were laughing at your own joke. That was funny. Don't put an exit sign, Marlene says. It's a wedding. Think symbolically. No exit. By the way, during one of the breaks that I took this evening, I went to my wedding painter. By the way, if you want to see all my wedding paintings, they are at weddingpaintermagic.com. So I went there and looked at my reception paintings because I wanted to see. Hang on just a second. I'm not crazy about that mark today. Those marks that I just made. Okay. So I wanted to see, is the bride usually on the left or the right? Now you would think that I would know that. You know, in other words, which makes the better painting or the better photograph painting, with the bride on the left or the right when they're dancing? And I discovered that the bride is on the left in about 80% of my paintings. But that means there's a significant minority, about 20%, where the bride ends up on the right. So there you go. So I don't quite feel comfortable.
That's amazing how you do that with your hands.
Well, thank you.
I don't know how you get both hands to go at the same time.
Yep.
That's what's that called?
Ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous. Yeah, that's exactly what it's called. And you do a great job of it.
Thank you.
I'm glad how you filled in those flowers. Really amazing.
if you need those books. Oh. Oh boy.
Go back in the car and see if I can find
You saw my short stack there, right? Of card, yeah, both wedding cards and. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I might end the broadcast here. I think that would make sense. And then if when I'm able to come back in and start broadcasting. So I'm going to do pencil right now. And after that, I don't really have anything that I can do till the bride and groom do their first dance. So that will be for a while, won't be for a while. So I'll do a second broadcast, I hope, later on tonight, if I can get away. Any wonderful chats I should see? La loca por los chinos. Oh boy, we got French and Spanish. And I think somebody said my raiment is nice. My clothing is nice. I think they said that in French. That was before I put my coat, my jacket on. And maybe my French is not very good. Maybe that's not what they said at all. Maybe they were saying, too bad dumb Americans don't know how to dress. That might have been what they were saying. All right. I'm fairly happy with what's going on here. You know what? No, I'm not. After just saying I was happy, I just said I'm not. Okay, I'm going to keep broadcasting, do one more thing, and I might as well let you watch it. So after I did the windows with all that light white, which I like just fine, but it's leaving them too high chroma, too bright compared to all the walls behind them. So I'm just gonna light. So I'm not counting layers. I wish I knew how many layers I'm on. It's about 7, I would guess, at this point, maybe 8. But part of the concept, painting in the world of Dan Nelson, is that with each layer, the painting gets slightly more accurate, slightly more realistic. So think about it. The very first thing I put down, and the very first thing when I started painting, is the antithesis of realism. It's an abstract shape that goes against the subject matter. And then little by little by little, each layer, the painting becomes a little bit more accurate. So there we go. I think I'll let it go with that. So as I said, I'm going to do some pencil. I'm going to hang up and not let you watch me do that part, because you can't see it very well, so it's a little bit boring. And by the way, I don't know, bride and groom are going here. I don't know how much of this original red swash is going to appear, but doggone, I really like that right now. And I like the fiery red in here. I like that very much. Everything else is okay, but I like the red in here, and that in particular. And this orange swoosh right here, I like the way that looks. Some of that, less than that, will appear in the final painting. All right, thank you guys for watching. As I said, I'll end Daily Art Adventure 613 right here, and if I have the opportunity to start broadcasting in it,